This story starts at Dallas Love Field, just past 6:30 a.m., with Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett moving through the terminal, exhausted but determined. She'd been running on fumes for 3 weeks, committee meetings in Sacramento, a policy roundtable in San Antonio, a last-minute town hall in Tulsa. Her carry-on was barely unpacked, her black dress under a blazer a quiet nod to the day's wait. Today wasn't about politics, it was personal. Her cousin Devin, like a brother to her, had passed away at 42, from liver failure. She was headed to his funeral in Jackson, Mississippi on Southwest Flight 2376. Missing it wasn't an option. At the check-in desk, it started with a look. You know the kind. A quick glance, a smirk, a flicker of judgment from the young agent behind the counter. His name tag read, Cullen. Jasmine handed over her boarding pass and ID. "I'm on Flight 2376 to Jackson. I'd like to check my carry-on," she said, her voice steady. Cullen tapped his keyboard, frowned, and said, "You're not in the system." Jasmine, staying calm, showed her phone. "I checked in an hour ago. Here's the boarding pass." But he leaned back, waved to a colleague, and said her seat had been reassigned, no explanation. When she asked why, another employee stepped in. "You're flagged for random review. We need to recheck your credentials." Jasmine knew this wasn't routine. She'd flown this route 4 times that year without issue. "I'm on official travel," she said, holding out her government ID. The agents barely glanced at it. "Ma'am, if you don't calm down, you'll need to step aside," Cullen said. "Calm down?" She hadn't raised her voice. Passengers started whispering, "That's Congresswoman Crockett," and phones came out recording. Jasmine stepped aside, jaw tight, feeling the sting of being treated like a problem for asking a simple question. The clock read 6:43. Her flight was set to board in less than 30 minutes. 2 TSA officers approached, their pace deliberate, suspicion already decided. "Ma'am, come with us," one said. Jasmine didn't move at first. "For what?" she asked, her voice clear. "Random review. Don't make this difficult." She handed over her ID again. "This is an official government trip. That's a real badge." They didn't look. They led her through a side door to a quiet hallway, fluorescent lights flickering overhead. A third agent joined, and they demanded a full pat-down. Her bag was opened. Her toiletries, her files, everything pulled out without explanation. 10 minutes passed, then 15. Jasmine asked, "Why was I pulled?" One agent shrugged. "You were being difficult." Difficult? She hadn't yelled, hadn't resisted, but her flight left the gate at 7:16. She was missing her cousin's funeral, a promise to his daughter, a moment she couldn't reclaim. Jasmine sat in a cold metal chair, hands on her knees, eyes fixed on the carpet. She wasn't going to give them the satisfaction of seeing her break. She texted her husband, Franklin Rhodes. "I was pulled. I missed the flight. I need you here." Franklin, a retired federal judge from the Ninth Circuit, didn't need to raise his voice to command a room. He walked into the terminal at 7:36, his dark gray coat and maroon scarf a stark contrast to the chaos. He saw Jasmine, her bag half-zipped, her paperwork scattered, and asked, "Are you okay?" She nodded once. He turned to the nearest TSA officer. "Who's in charge here?" The officer hesitated. "Sir, can I ask who you are?" "Franklin Rhodes, retired federal judge. Who's in charge?" The supervisor appeared, lanyard swinging, already in damage control mode. Franklin didn't shake his outstretched hand. "Why was my wife's seat reassigned?" he asked. The supervisor mumbled about checking with the gate. Franklin turned to Cullen, the agent who'd smirked earlier. What was your reason for calling security?" Cullen stammered. "She wouldn't stand down." "Did she shout?" Franklin asked. "No." "Did she threaten anyone?" "No." Franklin leaned in. "You understand this is targeted escalation, correct? You detained a federal official without cause, ignored her ID, and made her miss her flight." Silence hung heavy. The supervisor offered a first-class seat on the next flight. Jasmine shook her head. "He's not trying to get me a better seat. He's trying to get you to realize you don't get to treat people like that. Not me, not anyone." By the time Jasmine and Franklin left the terminal, passenger videos were already online. One showed Jasmine being escorted out, head high, surrounded by officers who wouldn't meet her gaze. Another captured Franklin demanding names. Social media erupted with outrage, not just for Jasmine, but for everyone who'd been dismissed, overlooked, or treated like they didn't belong. A woman from Arizona wrote, I didn't have a title, so they talked to me like I was nothing. I cried in the bathroom. A man from Oakland shared, "They treated my father the same way. He missed his heart surgery." In Jackson that evening, Jasmine sat on a hotel bed, the memorial over, her family's disappointment heavy in their texts. She scrolled through comments online, stories from teachers, nurses, veterans, all sharing moments of being treated like problems for existing in the wrong line. The airline's apology was vague. "We regret the incident and are reviewing our procedures." It wasn't enough. Jasmine wrote a letter that went viral. This isn't just about one gate or one airline. It's about how quickly some people in power forget the basic rules of human decency. Dignity should be automatic every single time. Back in the terminal, Cullen sat slumped in a break room staring at the floor. The manager stood by the door. "You could have just moved her to a new seat," he said. "I didn't know who she was," Cullen muttered. "You don't get to treat people like that, whether you know them or not," the manager replied. The weight was sinking in. Not just that Cullen had messed up, but that the world had seen it. A week later, Jasmine was in D.C., declining news interviews. She didn't want to be a symbol. She wanted a conversation. At a meeting with young interns working on civil rights policy, a 19-year-old named Talia said, "I saw the video. I've been treated like that. You didn't say much, but you made it loud." That stuck with Jasmine. Sometimes the moment doesn't call for noise. It calls for stillness, the kind that forces the world to look at itself. This story isn't just about Gate 22B. It's about every time someone's voice is ignored, every time dignity is treated as optional. It's about the woman rushing to her daughter's graduation, the man flying for a job interview, the grandmother heading to bury her brother. Franklin told Jasmine later, "Real power is knowing who you are, and no one can take that away, even if they try." He was right. It shouldn't take a title for decency to be automatic. Jasmine's next town hall opened with this story. Not about politics, but about people. Because stories matter. They hold up a mirror and force us to ask, if that had been me, what would I have done? Or more importantly, if I'd been the one in power, how would I have treated her? Dignity isn't a reward, it's a right. So to anyone who's been talked down to, brushed off, or made to prove they belong in a place they've already paid to be in, your story matters. One day someone will speak it, with or without a camera. The lesson here isn't shame, it's awareness. The next time you're at a counter or behind a desk, look people in the eye, listen, don't assume. How we treat others when no one's watching says everything about who we are when everyone is. If this story moves you, share it. Let it remind us that dignity is non-negotiable. Subscribe for more stories that reveal, reflect, and remind us what respect looks like. Because the truth, and the people living it, deserve to be heard.